Let's start our first news with a clarification from Alex Pereira, who has made it clear that his issue is not with Ciryl Gane, but with referee Herb Dean. The controversy goes all the way back to the UFC White House event, where Pereira faced Gane in a heavyweight clash that ended with plenty of discussion surrounding strikes to the back of the head. Since then, the incident has continued to generate debate among fans and fighters. Recently, Pereira appeared during a Q&A at UFC Fight Week, where one fan unexpectedly started a Ciryl Gane chant instead of asking a question. Pereira could only smile awkwardly as the crowd joined in, but in a new interview with Oscar Willis from the Mac Life, Pereira clarified exactly where he stands. According to Pereira, his frustration is directed solely at Herb Dean, because he believes the referee is responsible for making sure both fighters follow the rules and that illegal strikes are properly addressed. Pereira also acknowledged that fighters can make mistakes during the chaos of a fight. With adrenaline pumping and both athletes reacting instinctively, something illegal could happen without the fighter intentionally trying to break the rules. Pereira explained that he felt the strikes himself and believed the referee should have been in the best position to recognize what was happening and intervene when necessary. He also admitted that he had taken plenty of legal shots during the fight and perhaps could have recovered better. However, his main point remained that determining whether a strike is legal or illegal is ultimately the referee's responsibility. So, despite the chants and ongoing fan reactions, Pereira does not appear to be blaming Gane personally. Instead, he believes Herb Dean should have done more to control the situation and protect the fairness of the contest. And while we're on the topic of Pereira, another major development is that he appears to be sticking around at heavyweight, suggesting that his move up in weight may not have been temporary. Let's move on to another news, as Conor has provided a positive update following his knee surgery. Just a few days ago, we reported that Conor was heading into surgery to repair his ACL, an injury that had been a major concern since it happened. Now, Conor has revealed that the procedure was successful and that he has officially begun his road to recovery. In a new video shared on Instagram, Conor showed his determination to return and also gave credit to several athletes who inspired him throughout the process. In his message, Conor said that his knee had been repaired and that the real work begins now. He made it clear that he did not run from the pain and is fully focused on making his comeback. Conor also highlighted fighters who successfully returned from serious ACL injuries, including Dominic Cruz and Georges St-Pierre. He pointed to their recoveries as motivation, while also mentioning athletes from other sports who managed to overcome similar setbacks. Speaking directly to his fans, Conor described his mindset as unstoppable and unbreakable, making it clear that he intends to attack his rehabilitation with the same mentality he brings into the octagon. The surgery itself may be over, but the difficult part is only beginning. Recovery from an ACL injury can take a significant amount of time, and Conor is expected to face a long rehabilitation process before he can seriously consider returning to competition. Still, this update gives his fans an encouraging sign. Rather than focusing on the setback, Conor appears determined to use the recovery period as motivation. With his UFC contract still having another fight remaining, the next chapter of his career will depend heavily on how well his knee heals and whether he can return to the level required for another UFC appearance. For now, the message from Conor is simple. The surgery is done, the recovery has started, and his comeback journey is officially underway. Let's move on to another news, as Daniel Cormier has shared his reaction to Arman taking on Mauricio Rufy, and according to DC, this fight could have a huge impact on Arman's title hopes. Arman was originally expected to face Charles Oliveira, and Cormier revealed that Arman personally told him about the matchup when they were together in Abu Dhabi a couple of weeks ago. That also lines up with Arman's reported meeting with Hunter Campbell. Because of that, Cormier pushed back against the idea that Oliveira was somehow avoiding the fight. He believes that's completely unfair, especially considering what Oliveira is currently dealing with. According to DC, Oliveira should be able to spend time with his friends and family, rather than immediately jumping into another training camp and difficult weight cut. But now, Arman has agreed to face Mauricio Rufy, and Cormier believes that decision could actually strengthen his case for a championship opportunity. DC explained that this is a dangerous fight for Arman, but there is less upside compared to facing a well-known name like Oliveira. Ruffy is talented and has already made a statement with his impressive victory at the White House event, but he doesn't have the same name recognition as Oliveira. Still, Arman is willing to take the risk. Cormier believes that's exactly what Arman needs to do if he wants to make himself impossible to ignore. One of the biggest reasons Arman has struggled to secure the title opportunity many fans believe he deserves is the way his previous scheduled fight with Islam fell apart. But now, according to DC, Arman is saying yes to everybody and every situation. That willingness to fight anyone could become a major advantage. Cormier believes that when a fighter consistently accepts difficult matchups, it makes him someone the UFC can rely on, and that can strengthen his position in the championship picture. Of course, DC admitted that he would have loved to see Arman and Oliveira run it back. Their first fight was an incredible battle, and a rematch would have generated plenty of excitement. But if Arman gets past Ruffy, Cormier believes the situation becomes much clearer. A big win over Ruffy could finally put Arman in a position where a championship opportunity is impossible to overlook. Let's move on to another news. As Magomed Ankalaev versus Paulo Costa could finally be a fight the UFC manages to put together. According to Ali Abdelaziz, the UFC has already offered this matchup to Ankalaev 3 times, but for some reason, the fight has never actually happened. Now, Ali believes it's a matchup that simply needs to happen, regardless of whether there is a title involved. During a recent interview with MMA Junkie, Ali explained that he likes the idea of Costa fighting Ankalaev. He also praised Costa for the way he promotes himself without constantly crossing the line or making things overly personal. Costa has certainly said some reckless things throughout his career, but Ali believes that's part of what makes him entertaining. While some fighters create attention by generating negative headlines, Costa has a different approach. He's naturally funny, witty, and knows how to get people talking. However, Ali made it clear that people shouldn't mistake Costa's personality for a lack of ability inside the octagon. According to Ali, Paulo Costa is a serious fighter, and anyone who treats him like a joke could make a major mistake. At the same time, Ali believes Ankalaev and Costa don't necessarily need a championship belt to make the fight worthwhile. Whether it's for an interim title or simply a regular fight, the important thing is getting these two men into the octagon. Ali also mentioned that Carlos Ulberg needs to take his time because he's currently the champion, suggesting there is no reason to rush him into his next matchup. That leaves plenty of possibilities for the division, and Ankalaev versus Costa could be one of the most interesting options. On paper, Ankalaev would likely enter the fight as the favorite, especially because of his well-rounded skill set and ability to control the pace of a fight. But Costa possesses serious power and has shown that he can make any opponent uncomfortable when he's able to pressure forward and land his combinations. Ali admitted that he doesn't believe Costa's chances of winning are particularly high, but that doesn't mean the matchup wouldn't be exciting. If the UFC has already offered this fight 3 times, the question now is whether the 4th attempt could finally get it done. Let's move on to another news, as Joshua Van has reacted to his rematch with Alexander Pantoja at UFC 331. Following the announcement that Van will once again share the octagon with Pantoja, the young contender wasted no time making his feelings clear. Van took to Instagram and simply wrote, "Let's get it." Alongside the message, Van also posted a picture referencing the famous Dustin Poirier airport situation, adding another layer of personality to his reaction. It was a short message, but it made one thing very clear: Van is ready for the rematch. The matchup is particularly interesting because Van already knows exactly what Pantoja brings to the table. There will be no surprises when the two meet again, and Van will have the opportunity to make adjustments based on everything he experienced in their previous encounter. For Pantoja, meanwhile, this is another chance to prove his position at the top of the division. The Brazilian champion has built a reputation as one of the most dangerous fighters in the flyweight division, combining aggressive grappling with dangerous submissions and striking. But Van has quickly established himself as a fighter who isn't afraid of difficult challenges. His willingness to step into a rematch against Pantoja shows the confidence he has in his own abilities. With UFC 331 now taking shape, this rematch adds another important fight to the card. And considering how competitive their first meeting was, there is plenty of reason to believe the second fight could deliver even more action. Van's brief "let's get it" response also says a lot about his mentality. Instead of complaining about the matchup or looking for an easier path, he's embracing the opportunity. Now, the focus shifts toward preparation. A rematch against an experienced opponent like Pantoja requires careful adjustments because both fighters have already seen each other's strengths and tendencies. For Van, this is a chance to show that he has evolved since their first fight. For Pantoja, it's an opportunity to remind everyone why he's considered one of the toughest fighters in the division. UFC 331 is already shaping up to be a solid card, and this rematch gives the event another intriguing storyline heading into Fight Night. Let's move on to another news, as Islam's longtime coach, Javier Mendez, believes Islam can actually beat Ian Garry in the striking department without relying on wrestling. Speaking recently on the Weighing In show, Mendez explained that Islam's striking has improved dramatically over the years. According to him, people often overlook Islam's stand-up abilities because they automatically expect him to use his wrestling and grappling. Mendez has worked with Islam for more than 12 years, and he believes the amount of work put into his striking has made a major difference. He explained that Islam is now fully dialed in as a striker and doesn't necessarily need to take Ian down to win the fight. Of course, Mendez admitted that wrestling would probably be the smarter option because Islam has a clear advantage on the ground. But he insists that Islam has developed enough striking ability to compete with Ian on the feet. That confidence could make this matchup especially interesting. Ian Garry is known for his technical striking, movement, range, and ability to control distance. So if Islam decides to spend significant portions of the fight standing with him, it could create a completely different challenge than what many fans are expecting. Mendez also emphasized that the key will be seeing how Ian adapts once Islam begins implementing his game plan. And based on these comments, it certainly sounds like Islam's team isn't planning to automatically rely on takedowns from the opening bell. Instead, Islam may be willing to test himself against Ian in the striking exchanges before deciding when to use his world-class grappling. That could also help silence some of the criticism Islam received after his decision victory over JDM, where fans questioned the lack of action and excitement. Now, with Ian Garry standing across from him, Islam has an opportunity to show that his striking is far more dangerous than many people realize. Let's move on to another news. As Islam appears to have a high level of respect for Ian Garry ahead of their upcoming matchup. As the fight gets closer, fans have started debating whether Islam will rely heavily on his wrestling or attempt to test himself against Ian in the striking department. Others have even questioned whether Islam truly respects Ian as a fighter. According to Daniel Cormier, however, the answer is very clear. DC believes Islam has been paying close attention to the things Ian has been saying, and he sees that as a sign of genuine respect. Cormier explained that Islam is a very smart and thoughtful fighter, and the fact that he's carefully listening to Ian's comments suggests that he understands the kind of challenge standing in front of him. Cormier also revealed that Islam's team has a tremendous amount of respect for Ian because of the problems he can create inside the octagon. Ian's striking ability, movement, and range make him a difficult opponent, and DC believes Ian's chances of success will depend heavily on whether he can control that distance. If Ian has improved his wrestling, that could give him another tool to defend against Islam's grappling. But according to Cormier, Ian ultimately needs to find his range and keep the fight at a distance where he can use his striking effectively. The problem is that doing this against Islam is much easier said than done. Islam is constantly moving forward, applying pressure, and staying in his opponent's face. That makes it extremely difficult for someone like Ian to simply stand at long range and dictate the pace. So while the general advice for Ian appears to be simple, keep the fight standing and maintain distance, Actually executing that strategy against Islam could be one of the biggest challenges of his career. Islam's respect for Ian doesn't necessarily mean he's afraid to exchange with him. Instead, it shows that he understands the danger Ian presents and is taking the matchup seriously. And when you combine that level of preparation with Islam's world-class grappling, Ian could have an extremely difficult night ahead.